we have one more beautiful young lady. Her name is Julz. She comes to us, I think she's at home, and home right now, it used to be Canada, and prior to that, Ukraine, and now it's Cancun. So I had the pleasure of meeting this lovely young lady through another lovely young lady. And I didn't even know she was in Cancun. And it was 3 days before I was leaving for Cancun, because that was another trip I won with the company that we were talking about earlier, APL Go. And we're talking and talking. And I said, you know what? We'll talk more once I get back. I have to go to Cancun. And she's like, you're going to Cancun? She goes, I live in Cancun. And I'm like, what? Get out of here. So she came to the convention, and now she's with APL Go too, but she's also very busy, which is why she couldn't make it earlier. But I have the pleasure of introducing to you Julz Vitality. Isn't she beautiful? Julz, take it away, sweetheart.
Aw, thank you, Marianne. Sound check. You guys hear me okay? See me okay? All good? All right. Okay. Well, I first of all blown away with the speaker lineup and the information they've shared. And I was like, okay, now I can't talk about this. This was already talked about. So what do I want to talk about? So, all right. So let me introduce myself and then just get into it, or do you want to ask me some
Tell
questions?
us a little bit about yourself. I used to do bios. I used to read bios for people, and then I did one last one where I did it without the bios, and I asked people, what do you prefer? And they said no bios. So now I just ask everyone to just tell them what you want people to know about you.
Okay, awesome. Well, one thing I think comes before professional titles is that I'm a wellness advocate, hence my online last name, Vitality. And basically, everything I do in business and personal life is driven by the desire for myself to feel better and also for others to learn tools to feel better in their life and their business, because I believe those two are very much related. So even the reason why I am with APL Go is because of the tools or the medicine that they provide in order to boost vitality and on so many different aspects of life in such a natural way. So I am on the holistic side of things. I do understand some of the allopathic disciplines, but I do support anybody who's working in the functional medicine field, holistic healing, spiritual, emotional healing, mental health. Those are the areas of business that I'm very, very passionate about. However, I don't have any gifts in those areas. My gift is creating visibility, building stages, showcasing people's talents, very similar to Marianne's. I also have multiple events and stages and magazine and so on. So I'm called to use these platforms and stages to showcase healers of all these types that I just mentioned, including mindset busters. Can we use a new word instead of ghostbusters? Mindset blockbusters, because a lot of the times we're stopped in one area or another. We only hit a limit and only in an area of life, and sometimes we don't see what it is that's stopping us. Could be our blind spot. So that's where I think mindset professionals are so crucial. And I really feel grateful that this line of discipline and all this work and the metaphysical work that Marianne is doing in life coaching are available to more and more people. And our platforms exist to provide more visibility and make these disciplines and these people more accessible to general population, right? So they can upgrade their life and business. That's my little intro. Hi.
Are you going to tell us more about what you do?
Oh yes. Yes. Okay, so I can talk about what I do, and then I can link it to leadership, authentic leadership. So I am a visibility, social media, and overall business coach, especially for businesses who operate primarily online. So how do we reach a greater audience globally, digitally? How do we build a proper digital image or personal brand? So I'm going to share some unpopular opinion about authentic leadership, because there is a difference in self-care and taking care of yourself. And I believe a lot of people go to the authentic side and stop taking care of themselves, and they still demand acceptance and recognition, even though they become maybe not the best example of leadership. It all comes from self-leadership. So basically, to me, that is a symptom of lack of self-leadership. If we cannot take care of our own multiple level health, physical, emotional, spiritual, business, mindset health, then how can we possibly lead somebody to follow us? So I believe it all starts with us, with our self-leadership, then those around us, so our immediate family, our smaller community. What is our reputation in this community? And only then, when we sort of figured out how to lead a small group or even our family first, then I believe we can earn the right to lead a larger group. Because I've met people who lead great communities, but they're maybe a really bad father or a mother, right? Or maybe they really aren't a great example of self-leadership, or maybe their integrity is lacking, where they promise one thing, maybe they make a lot of loud promises, but they don't actually live up to them, right? So when I talk about authentic leadership, I want you guys to keep that just in the perspective. Of course, we all want to be the best version of ourselves as we can be. So yes, be yourself, but try to be a better version of yourself first, so that you can lead with confidence and others have an example to look up to. Okay. So when we translate that personal leadership into business, then again, leading in business and promising things that you haven't personally done, it's just like going to the doctor that can't heal himself, right? It's just like going to a shoemaker that has broken shoes. So we need to have a track record or reputation of the things that we announce that we can lead people to achieve. And if we can't have that, or we cannot validate that or demonstrate that, or we don't have a reputation of that, then I personally do not choose to follow leaders like that. I'm sure there are still people who will, but I choose not to. So when I look at leaders to follow, I look at their integrity, their track record. I'm not crazy about reading reviews, but I will sort of skim over their reputation. I'll Google them. I'll put their name in ChatGPT. I'll put their company in ChatGPT, and I will find out what do people say about them, and so on. So I encourage you guys to do the same thing, because I know a lot of you people in the audience, I bet you probably majority of you have purchased things or signed up for things that didn't end up being what you thought they would be. And that is because you didn't do the research, right? You didn't spend 2 minutes to validate the claims a leader was making, okay? So take those 2 minutes next time. As I mentioned, 2 simple things, Google and AI. Just ask, simple search, something about this person or about their brand or about the company or the program or the course or whatever it is, okay? Just like you would when you're buying things on Amazon. You would look at the reviews, you would look at the testimonials of the star rating, right? Same with books, right? You're not going to read a book where everybody's saying, oh, this was super bored, I fell asleep during the first chapter, right? So do a little bit of research. So now talking about leaders who are growing in their field, or leaders who are, aspiring leaders, take care of this stuff. Take care of your reputation. Google yourself, look yourself up, see what people are finding, what people are seeing, right? Go look at your social media profiles. Are you even the same person across the profiles? Do you have the same title, the same picture? Is your hair color the same, right? Are your brand colors more or less consistent? Let's not nitpick here. It doesn't have to be the same shade of red, right? But is it overall in the same sort of theme, right? Marianne's very consistent with her colors, branding for the event, branding for the books, right? She's very consistent. She's not a super detail oriented person, but she has a visible brand, multiple brands that she's carrying, right? So that is an upgrade to just being a leader of one thing. When you become a serial entrepreneur, you have multiple venues that you're taking care of, or multiple communities, then the messaging becomes, you need to differentiate that messaging as well. At the same time, as a leader leading multiple communities or multiple projects, people need to know what you as an individual stand for. What is your motto? What gets you out of bed? What is your purpose? What are you, motivated by day by day? What makes you want to run these venues and projects? As I mentioned, to me, for me, it is wanting to create stages and opportunities to bring more healing to people who need it. Okay, more personal development, awareness, um, business acumen, tools, resources, connections, right? For somebody else, it could be, I want to sell more programs, or it could be, I want to build a community that supports a certain cause, right? What is it for you? Why are you even wanting to become a leader? Or if you are a leader, what it is that makes you continue to lead a team or a community, right? What is your why? And we need to constantly look at that why and reevaluate, is it still close to our heart, or are we becoming more disconnected from it? Because as we become more disconnected from our why, we'll become more robotic. We fall into marketing traps. We fall into industry traps. We become victims to possibly even manipulation, or maybe even false promises from other leaders, right? We make wrong collaborations. We start sidetracking, even 1 degree gradually. We start floating away from where we initially wanted to get to, the impact and the legacy we wanted to leave initially. Usually for a lot of leaders, it's at least part of their motivation is to leave some sort of a legacy, make an impact, and motivate people to take a certain course of action, right? Also, a lot of community leaders often stand for something, but also against something. So do you resonate as a community member? Do you resonate with what the community is trying to achieve, and also what it doesn't support, right? For example, there are a lot of anti-type protests, right? So they're trying to create world peace, but they're anti-war, or they're anti this and anti that. So my question to you is, are you a part of a community because of the anti-model, or because of the impact and the positive change that they're creating? Because we all know bad news are more popular than good news, and negativity often attracts people who are more passionate, and there's more action to be taken, right? So tune into yourself. A lot of talks were focused on understanding yourself, who you are as a person, as an individual, before you become a leader, and how aligned is your leadership role, or the role you're taking on, whether it is the one you've chosen or the one you've been put into. Maybe you're in a corporate leadership. How aligned is it to your intrinsic values and needs? Because needs, 6 main human needs, they change throughout the years. Somebody could have been driven by fame and validation earlier in their years, and now they may be driven by contribution. So I suggest you look up 6 human needs and figure out what are the top 1 or 2 that drive you. And you will understand that that exercise will answer a lot of questions for you. And when you start sharing those values with your audience, with your followers as a leader, you will see so much more buy-in, because people will start raising their hands and saying, yes, I'm driven by the same need. I recognize this. I connect with you because of that. And that's another reason why people share stories, right? So people who have similar stories or have experienced similar milestones in their stories seem to flock together. That's why story marketing is a thing, right? That's why people buy books. That's why people listen to podcasts and shows, because they relate to somebody who has experienced the same heartaches as they have. But that's the principle that I'm related earlier, that negative aspects seem to unite communities stronger than sometimes the positive aspects, right? But the combination of the two is even more impactful, right? So, for example, overcoming certain challenges, achieving certain results, right? So we're getting away from pains toward gains, right? So the combination of the two, the more clear you make it for your community as a leader, the more likely you will, first of all, connect the right people, attract the right people, right? The longer they'll stick with you, the more referrals they'll bring to you, right? Because you have so many more common elements now versus just maybe a loud promise or a topic or just a theme for a community, right? That's why niching down also really, really works in this day and age, because I'll give an example that's completely in the left field here. For example, a dating website, right, or a dating community. Well, it's just so diluted. There could be people of any age, any race, nationality, language, geography, social status, economic status. But as you start narrowing those things down, for example, Black LGBTQ community between 25 and 30 living in the West Coast of the USA, right? That is so clear that people self-select and self-identify to belong to that group versus just to say, I'm one of the singles on the market, right? So being niche and specific about your messaging, your community, the organization you're leading, everything that describes that organization, the more quality people are going to have in it, the more supportive they're going to be, the more they're going to be engaging with you and one another, because you don't want a community of, blind followers that are just looking up at you. You want to engage people. You want to allow them a way to communicate with one another, to build relationships. Sometimes you have to literally take them by the hand and pair them up, right? And say, hey, you guys do a call together. You guys go for coffee together. I'd love you guys to interview each other on your social media, right? So people appreciate that, because sometimes those of us who are more shy and reserved, we sometimes need those leaders and people who have initiative to help us take that next step. So the last couple talks that I heard on the show were talking about, being yourself, being vulnerable, admitting your mistakes, and not being perfect. Absolutely, absolutely agreed. However, why do people follow a leader? Obviously I'm generalizing the terms. It could be, why do people support their manager? Or why do people follow a social media page? Or why do people come to an event or even a networking event, right? Like, why do people go after some cause or person or brand or support a brand, right? It's because usually there is a step ahead of anything, right? It's either an example of what this person can become, a promise of achieving something this person can't achieve on their own, right? A vision to support them in being propelled in a certain direction, right? A sense of community of like-minded individuals, right? So having all that in place and positioning yourself as an expert, not a know-it-all, not an absolute guru, but just somebody who's got it a little bit more figured out, has authority, has experience, maybe has made mistakes, and is able to offer help to those who are in the community. That's what makes a leader valuable, right? It's not just to say, this person is just organizing a bunch of people and okay, well, he's a leader. No, we got to respect our leader. If we don't respect our leader, if we don't look up to our leader, we're probably not going to stick around in that community, right? So as a leader, you want to be that respectable person. You want to show a good example to your tribe. You want to put a little bit of an effort in being more than just an average you, a day-to-day you just got a bed and no bed hair or whatever. Put a little bit of effort into being presentable, into being professional, right? Into being accurate. Yes, of course, we all make mistakes. Perfection is, something that only a few achieve, if any, right? So we all understand that it's being human. But striving to be better, I believe, should be a characteristic of leaders. And if my leaders in communities that I follow, if I do not see them growing, if I do not see them investing in their personal development, business development, their leadership skill, then most likely I'm not going to stick around for too long. Why? Because I will likely outgrow that leader. Because as a leader is on a journey, his tribe is on a journey, and the tribe will catch up to the leader if the leader is not growing. So your goal as a leader is to always stay ahead, always move, always move forward, always improve, always learn, right? Continuous learning mentality, right? And I know you guys talked already about recognition, validating the contribution of your community, of followers or sub people who report to you if you are a leader in an organization, right? Validating your community, acknowledging their contribution to being a part of the community is super, super important to create engagement and to have these people stay on board and aligned with your mission for as long as possible. So understanding the people in the community, getting to know them, spending time with them, asking them what's important to them is also a characteristic of an authentic leader. It's not beneath us to lower ourselves to the level of our peeps, okay? And find out how they're doing, what are their challenges, what are they struggling with, right? We want to do that. We want to understand, we want to mingle with them, right? And that's what the presidents do before the elections. They go to the pubs and bars and hang out with people, right? Unfortunately, only before the election, but I mean, that is the principle in action, right? So I think everybody relates to that. So that's a good demonstration, but do that as often as possible, right? Show up in places where your people show up without your leader hat, right? Just being a good neighbor, just being one of the tribe, and talk to your folks heart to heart, right? Without being unreachable, without being, having the title that people can only dream of being introduced to, like the president, right? And then all of a sudden they can go and do cheers with them in person at a bar. Wow, what a privilege, right? And then they take pictures and then they post them all over the place. But really, how reachable is the president when once he takes the seat? Not to reach, right? Okay, so I know I put a little pointers into here. So let me maybe sort of close it with a few things that are most important. I think clarity, if I could summarize a bunch of points that I made into clarity of your vision, your purpose, the mission of the organization or the community that you're leading, alignment of all its members, and also having an alignment with your personal individual goals and motivations and your why. Okay, so simplicity, alignment, confidence and authority, yet not taking it overboard and being unapproachable and unreachable. Being a step ahead of the tribe by always investing in your own growth and development, always looking for more opportunities to grow, more resources, more connections. You are the leader. Don't expect people to grow the community for you, right? Show them the way, right? It's kind of like in the icebreaker, you are the tip of the icebreaker that's hitting the ice first, right? The rest of them are hiding behind your back. You're protecting them from all the rain and the challenges, the ice. And most importantly, I think not being scared to lead, right? Leadership doesn't have to be, as I said, a disconnected role, an approachable, perfect person. It doesn't have to be that at all. Sometimes leaders are ministers. They're the ones who are the servants. They're the ones who provide the most help and support to people, and they naturally rise and people start looking up to this person in a way they almost, like, if you can imagine, lift them up and start holding them up on their hands, and they put the person up. The person gets voluntold to become a leader. You want to naturally emerge to be a leader because people are already trusting you, liking you. They know you for your integrity. They know you as a person of your word. They know you keep your promises. They know you're aligned and true to your own values, right? And if you're not aligned with your own mission, your lack of integrity will come out sooner or later, right? So take a step back, get realigned from time to time. That should help you continue being respected, admired leader, and also motivate and inspire others to follow that mission and vision that you set in front of them. So I think that would be my inspiration to you guys in a nutshell. Any questions, you let us know. I'd appreciate to hear back from you, and maybe you learned something or not. Drop it in the comments. let us know. And would love to hear from you guys. I'm sure Marian will let you guys know how to do that.
Thank you, Jules. If you want to put your contact information on my Facebook page underneath, like in the underneath the live, that would be great. And